Welcome to Capital Catch-Up, your deep dive into the latest legislative activity in Congress. I am Victor.
And I am Leanie. Today we are walking you through several key bills introduced in the House and Senate, covering everything from small business regulations and veterans' benefits to consumer safety and agricultural innovation. Let us start with how Congress is looking to change the way the Small Business Administration, or the SBA, makes rules.
Yes, that is House Resolution 9885, also known as the Maintaining Small Business Engagement Act of 2026. Right now, the SBA has certain exemptions that allow it to bypass standard public notice and comment procedures when issuing rules about loans, grants, contracts, benefits, or public property. This bill wants to change that by requiring the SBA to follow the Standard Administrative Procedure Act.
This is a big deal for everyday small business owners. Usually, the rulemaking process involves a period where the public, including business owners, can submit feedback before a rule becomes law. By removing these exemptions, House Resolution 9885 ensures that small business stakeholders have a formal and consistent way to voice their concerns and offer input on federal policies that directly affect their daily operations.
Speaking of safety and regulations, let us look at Senate Bill 289, the Youth Poisoning Protection Act. This bill takes aim at a specific chemical compound, sodium nitrite, when it is found in high concentrations in consumer products.
Exactly. It mandates a federal ban on consumer products containing 10% or more of sodium nitrite by weight, classifying them as banned hazardous products under the Consumer Product Safety Act. The goal here is to prevent accidental or intentional poisoning. However, the bill does explicitly exempt commercial or industrial applications, as well as products regulated as food, drugs, devices, or cosmetics.
And it is designed to take effect quickly, just 90 days after its enactment, to get these dangerous concentrations off retail shelves.
Moving on to financial relief, Senate Bill 3977, the Bankruptcy Threshold Adjustment Act of 2026, focuses on modernizing our bankruptcy system. For many individuals and small businesses, the legal process of restructuring debt can be incredibly complex.
It really is. This bill updates federal bankruptcy law by raising the debt eligibility limits. Specifically, it increases the debt ceiling for small business debtors to $7.5 million and raises the limit for individuals filing under Chapter 13 to $2.75 million.
By raising these thresholds, more small businesses and individuals with regular income can qualify for streamlined reorganization processes rather than having to go through more complex and costly liquidation procedures. It keeps businesses open and helps individuals manage their debt more effectively.
Now, let us talk about something that annoys almost everyone with a phone: international robocalls. Senate Bill 2666, the Foreign Robocall Elimination Act, is a comprehensive effort to crack down on these scams.
This legislation requires the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, to set up an interagency task force consisting of federal officials and private sector experts. They will analyze international robocall fraud, evaluate current authentication technologies like STIR and SHACN, and recommend tougher enforcement, including potential criminal penalties and Justice Department oversight.
It also adds teeth to existing regulations. It grants legal immunity to the industry consortium that traces back these illegal calls, lets the FCC publish lists of non-compliant voice service providers, and requires certain providers to post financial bonds to ensure they are accountable in the FCC's robocall mitigation database.
From telecommunications to higher education, House Resolution 9881, the Higher Education Accreditation Accountability Act, is targeting how universities and colleges are accredited.
Accreditation is essentially the stamp of approval that allows schools to receive federal funding. This bill proposes strict eligibility criteria for the accrediting bodies themselves and limits how long their federal recognition lasts. It also creates a highly rigorous process for any college or university that wants to switch to a different accreditor.
That is right. The Secretary of Education would have the authority to deny an institution's request to switch if it looks like they are just trying to evade sanctions, reduce oversight, or avoid scrutiny over how they treat students. It also introduces public comment periods and disqualifies institutions that are currently under disciplinary action from easily switching.
We also have several critical bills aimed at supporting our military veterans. Let us start with Senate Bill 1245, the Service Members and Veterans Empowerment and Support Act of 2025. This bill focuses heavily on improving the Department of Veterans Affairs' response to military sexual trauma, or MST.
It is a very comprehensive bill. It expands access to health care and streamlines the disability claims process for survivors. It mandates a report on military sexual trauma in the digital age, sets up specialized teams to evaluate these claims, and gives veterans the option to have their medical exams done by VA employees rather than third-party contractors.
It also requires the VA to use trauma-informed communication standards, which means including crisis resources and support contact information in all correspondence. Plus, it broadens eligibility for counseling to reserve components and Service Academy members.
Another veteran-focused bill is Senate Bill 1308, the Vets Opportunity Act of 2025. This bipartisan bill updates the criteria for independent study programs under VA educational assistance. To qualify for veteran benefits, these programs must require regular, substantive interaction between students and instructors, and the institutions must be accredited under federal student financial aid programs. These changes would take effect for academic terms starting on or after August 1, 2025.
Then there is Senate Bill 1032, the Major Richard Starr Act. This bipartisan bill addresses a long-standing issue where combat-disabled military retirees face a reduction in their retired pay to offset their veterans' disability benefits.
This bill would eliminate that offset, allowing combat-disabled retirees to concurrently receive both their full military retired pay and their disability compensation. It has been referred to the Committee on Armed Services, and it represents a major effort to ensure these veterans receive the full benefits they earned.
Moving to our schools, Senate Bill 986, the Safe Schools Improvement Act, aims to address bullying and harassment in public elementary and secondary schools.
Yes, it requires states and local educational agencies to implement anti-bullying policies that specifically protect students based on race, color, national origin, sex, disability, religion, and other characteristics. Schools would have to establish clear grievance procedures, report annual incident data publicly, and focus on evidence-based, trauma-informed interventions instead of suspending or expelling students. It also mandates federal evaluations every 2 years.
In healthcare, we have Senate Bill 1677, the Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act. This bipartisan proposal would mandate that group and individual health insurance plans cover the diagnosis and treatment of congenital anomalies or birth defects.
This covers defects affecting the eyes, ears, teeth, mouth, or jaw, and specifically includes medically necessary reconstructive services like dental and orthodontic support, while excluding purely cosmetic procedures. It would amend the Public Health Service Act, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, and the Internal Revenue Code, starting in 2026. The Secretary of Health and Human Services would also have to submit a study to Congress by 2027 on how this affects out-of-pocket costs and accessibility.
Animal welfare is also on the agenda with Senate Bill 1538, the Better Care for Animals Act of 2025. This bill amends the Animal Welfare Act to give the Attorney General more power to enforce animal protections.
Under this bill, the Attorney General can bring civil actions, seek injunctions, revoke licenses, and seize or forfeit mistreated animals. It sets civil penalties up to $10,000 per day for violations, with those fines going toward temporary animal care. It also requires a formal memorandum of understanding between the Secretary of Agriculture and the Attorney General to improve coordination.
For historical commemoration, Senate Bill 1289, the 25th anniversary of September 11th Commemorative Coin Act, directs the Treasury to mint gold and silver coins in 2027 to honor the victims, survivors, and first responders of the September 11th attacks.
The coins will feature the inscription, "Never Forget." Surcharges from the coin sales will support the National September 11th Memorial and Museum at the World Trade Center, with strict rules ensuring the program operates at no net cost to the federal government by recovering all production expenses first.
We also have a major judicial reform bill, Senate Bill 1814, the Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal, and Transparency Act of 2025. This bill requires the Supreme Court to establish a formal code of conduct and a public portal for ethics rules.
It also creates a judicial investigation panel to handle misconduct complaints, expands disqualification criteria for justices regarding financial interests, gifts, and lobbying, and demands more disclosure from parties and amicus curiae participants to prevent conflicts of interest.
Finally, let us look at two bipartisan agricultural bills. First is Senate Bill 1906, the Innovative Feed Act of 2025. It regulates zootechnical animal food substances, which are added to animal feed or water to do things like improve digestion, reduce pathogens, or alter the gut microbiome.
Instead of being regulated as drugs, they would be classified as food additives, provided they do not treat disease or act as hormones. Manufacturers will have to submit safety and efficacy petitions and follow specific labeling guidelines.
And then there is Senate Bill 1907, the Plant Biostimulant Act of 2025. This bill defines plant biostimulants under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act to distinguish them from regular plant regulators. It also mandates a 2-year study by the Secretary of Agriculture on how these biostimulants can improve soil health, support sustainable farming, and aid in carbon sequestration and nutrient management.
As we wrap up, what should our listeners keep an eye on? Watch out for how the Senate Armed Services Committee handles the Major Richard Starr Act, which has strong bipartisan backing. Also keep an eye on the implementation timelines for the Youth Poisoning Protection Act's ban on high-concentration sodium nitrite, which is set for 90 days post-enactment, and the progress of the Supreme Court Ethics Bill as it moves through the legislative process.
That is all for today's episode of Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.